And because this game plan is an important element, we are investing ourselves in thinking through this game plan. Now, if you have just seen on your screen that our study, our evening is being live streamed, that is because the tertiary student ministry is joining us, and they are joining us on the youth department website YouTube page, or the YouTube page that will be streamed on the tertiary students ministry website. So to all those of you who are just tuned in whatever campus you may be, in Kingston, if you're UE, UTech, Michael, Shortwood, whatever, University College of the Caribbean, Phoenix, Yale, Harvard, MIT, wherever you may be and you're tuned in tonight, whether in China or Africa, America, wherever you may be, we are delighted to have you. And we do hope that as many of you who are young brothers, you will tune in to our conversation. I wish there was a way to feed questions from you if that's possible. I suspect the representative who may be there might be able to cut and paste from the page and put into this group, and I'll be able to respond, and everybody will have the opportunity to participate. So we're grateful to have each of you and welcome you to our meeting. So I'm saying to us that as men, we need a game plan. And I want to propose to you, here are some things that are important for the game of life that we live in. So let me begin by making the first point. Number one, you are in this game called life. I think that's the bottom line of what I'm saying here. You are in this game called life. I describe life as a game. There are other ways I could describe it that may be relevant to the experiences of our young men. I checked out some authors who have written on life as a game and to see how they might be speaking to this particular issue. And they say life as a game simply means that you are in a contest, that life is a contest. By game, I mean life is a contest. Life is a championship, so to speak. Every young man should identify that characteristic about life. And as I said, nothing else in this world unites us quite as much as sports, as big championships like the Olympics, World Cup, Champions League, Formula One, tennis, Grand Slams, major events. Nothing harmonizes the world more than sports. And I tell you that perhaps war, as it is right now, an invasion can harmonize political leaders, but not ordinary people. Ordinary people are going about their business and living their lives, but the political leaders, and we might be praying about it, but it doesn't rouse us in the ways that a big football match, a big Olympic Games might arouse us. You are in this game called life. Please do not hear me say that life as a game mean that it is something to be taken for granted, that it is just about having fun and it's about playing around. When I say life is a game, that's not what I have in mind. Life is not something you play around with, at least not jokingly, not casually, not haphazardly. Life is serious business. Life has great meaning. great drama and excitement about it. But there are dimensions to life that would require a young man to carefully understand how he is going about this life and to know what he is doing with the life that he has been gifted. Now, in this game of life, your goal is to win it. Your goal is to succeed at living. And your goal is to succeed on what I describe as the good life. The good life. The good life would be comparable to having a good game if you're a sports person or if you have ever watched a game before, whether it be netball or any sporting event. You can know when a team is having a good game, when they are winning, and sometimes a good game, a winning team don't always have the best of games. Sometimes they may have luck and ultimately win the game. But we're speaking in the normal, ordinary sense of having a good game. Your goal in life is to win it, to succeed at it. And it is to succeed at living the good life. I'm adding that dimension of a good life and good game as a way of casting before you what the goal of life is. What is the direction in which life should be lived? And I feel that every young man must value what I am calling the good life. And every young man must understand that they are in this game of life. There is no escaping it. If you are here in the world, if you're participating here, you are in the game of life. You're in this contest, you're in this championship, you are expected to compete. You have no option. And I feel that the best way to go about living this life is to understand that a part of the calling that is upon you is that you succeed at life. You succeed at winning. You succeed in living the good life. And what is the good life that should underline the game of life? I want to say to us that a lot of people would agree with me that this question, what is the good life? I don't know if you have ever thought about that, you know. I don't know if you have ever sat down and tried to figure out for yourself, what does it mean to live the good life? What does it mean to succeed at living the good life? Maybe this question is not only for young men, and this question is for young women too. This question is for all of us. This question is for the young, the middle age, the old, the mature, or I should say, right? And the golden ages. What is the good life? It is for intellectuals and it is for the simple-minded. It is for the worker and it is for the unemployed. It is for everyone. Have you ever thought about this question for yourself? What is the good life? And maybe you could take a moment and put in the chat what you consider the good life to be. And let me see if you and I are having harmony, you know, on this platform. What is the good life? It is a big question. It is a philosophical question. It is a theological question. And you must answer it as you go along. It is for all of us, and we are all expected. We all have within our hearts somewhere, somehow, a desire to live a good life. I think so. Do you? I think you do. And I think we all have this aspiration to live a good life. But what is it? Now, some people say the good life is a happy life. If you're in the game of life, and your goal is to win it, then the good life for you will mean that you live a happy life, that you have a life of pleasure, pleasurable experiences with minimal pain and minimal negative experiences. Not a life filled with bad drama, but maybe a life of good drama, good excitement, good pleasure in the worthwhile sense of good pleasure. There are a lot of persons who would say, nah, maybe that's not the end of it. Maybe the good life is the life in which you find meaning and purpose, whatever that meaning and purpose is. Some persons may be in pain, and because of that pain, they are led to some of the deeper meanings of life. They are led to appreciate the simpler things. They may not be able to move around, but they are led to appreciate the day. They're led to appreciate the morning, and they find deep significance in the simple meanings and purposes of life. Some people say the good life is the rich life, because if you have money, you can do whatever you want. You can go where you want. You can buy whatever you want. You know, I was listening to a lecture the other day about things that money can't buy. And the lecturer, who is an American professor, took the time to spoke about things that money can buy. And you know, you expect the money can buy food, money can buy a house, money can buy a car, money can buy other things. And then he began to carry it down to some more serious things that made me say, whoa, money can buy that. And money can buy friends. Yes, in today's world, here is one that I thought was particularly interesting, is that money can actually buy an apology. Did you know that? We're living in a world today where you can buy an apology. If you do something to your spouse, and your spouse is upset, or a good friend is upset, and you don't know how to apologize, there are online websites that you can subscribe to and buy an apology that is tailor-made for the person that you offended. All you need to do is log on, provide a description of the situation, of the event, and pay your fund, and that firm will create an apology that is appropriate for that, and get it to the offended person. And if they are not satisfied, they will do it try a second time. So even in this world, money can buy an apology. Right. As to whether or not that apology will be accepted, that's another thing. Right? That's another thing. I see someone asking for that link. Just type it in the chat. How can I purchase an apology? And you will see the website. I'm not kidding. It's real, coming out of, I think it's Japan or one of those places. But whether or not that apology will be accepted is another story. But if you are rich, your money can do a lot of things. You can buy friends, houses, food, money. You could buy friends, houses, food, car, even an apology for days that are that may have conflict. The game of life, this good life, you may say there are many ways in which you can define it. But as Christians, I want to say to us that as a young man in our society, in the church, we take our understanding from the Holy Bible. And I met on this verse today in a class that I teach, and it resonated with me while I was explaining it. Romans chapter 8 and verse 29, same verse that a verse that comes after all things work together for good, which is verse 28. But in verse 29 of Romans chapter 8, there's a little expression there about God's foreknowledge and God predestinating the people that he calls. And there is this little expression that says, he predestinates us. He predestinates us. God predestined us. And I like this little expression, to be conformed to the image of Christ. That the goal of life, the end of life, the ultimate purpose of life before the foundations of the earth were laid is that all of us will become conformable to the image of Christ. And I want to suggest to our young men who are here, our brothers who are here, our sisters who are here, as you transfer this in application, making applications to yourself as well, is that the good life is a life of conformity to the image of Christ. That you aspire to be a reflection of Jesus in the world. I feel that is the highest ideal as to what the good life might look like. And this ideal of being a reflector of the image of God could embrace aspirations for success in the workplace, for wealth, for happiness, and for meaning, even in the midst of great pain or suffering or hardship. So in the game of life, you are in a contest, you're in a championship, and your objective is to win at this life. And you are to strive to win at living the good life, which I say is a life of conformity to the image of Christ. If you understand that and if you appreciate what I'm trying to say there, I feel that you should say, yes, I get you, Pastor. I don't see any descriptions of what the good life is coming in from you. So I can't say, I can't represent your views because I didn't see any points coming in, even though I asked you. But that's fine, as long as you're thinking about it and wrestling with this idea that you are in the game of life, and in this life your goal is to win it, and your goal is to win at being at living the good life. And the good life is a life of conformity to the image of Christ. If you don't set that as your good life, perhaps you are aiming too low. A life of obedience and dependence on God, Casey says. Yeah, that is in keeping with what I just described. If you embrace a life of obedience and dependence on God, if you embrace conformity to the image of Christ, any biblical principle that seems to direct you to a higher calling, to a grander purpose, a deeper meaning than the surface values that our world sometimes put before us, you are in the ballpark of what it means to understand what the good life is, and you are better positioned to succeed at attaining the good life as you have described it for yourself. So that's one. You're in the game of life. In this game of life, my friends, I say to you that you need a head coach. Any person seeking to live the good life, seeking to pursue this game of life and to succeed at it, one of the things you need to win this contest as a young man, as a growing man, as a manly man, as a real man, as a Christian, male or female at this point, is not only to understand that you are in a game of life and that you're about your goal is to win at living the good life, and that the good life is a life of conformity to Christ. Once you recognize you're in the game of life, the next thing you need to know is, who is your head coach? You need a head coach. You know, I was looking at a book by a famous football coach in America, the ones that they throw with their hands. The Americans called the ball that they throw with their hands football. And they only kick it one time. It's really a handball tossed around, but you know what I mean. He wrote this book. I just forgot his name right now. I'm not remembering it. Hand egg ball. Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. He wrote this book about a game plan for life. And as I looked through it, he's really directing it to young men as well. As I looked through it, because of the males that are involved in that game, it's very male centric. Okay, at least the male version of it. There are female versions of it now. And he pointed out that in order to succeed in the game of life, and he's a Christian and he wrote this book from a Christian perspective, he made the point that you need a head coach, that any successful athlete who is at the top of their game, winning and conquering others and achieving records and achieving milestones in their sports, winning victories, and rarely is on the top of their game, basking in the moments. I heard two female basketball players in an advertisement this morning, just casually. It had nothing to do with what I was doing at the time. It just came on regular TV. And they were promoting the female NBA. And they said what they play for is to bask in the pleasure of the confetti. When the confetti falling out of the roof, out of the whatever they have in the roof, and the championship song is playing and they win, that moment drives them to work hard and to succeed at their sport. Right? Any player who is at the top of their game, who is victorious and successful over an extended period of time, very likely behind that player, there is a head coach. Now, the head coach crafts and develops the game plan. In the game of life, as a player, not in the sense that we use it in secular society, not in the street sense. As a player in the Christian sense, in the sense that I'm talking about this evening, in the sense of having a game plan for life, a player is not the one who creates the game plan. It is the head coach that creates the game plan. When Usain Bolt was running, it was his coach that determined his strategy, his running style, his timings, his training patterns, what he needs to do. When I drop off my children at school and I drop Josanna off at school, she goes to school up in the Papine area, and at the back of that school, UTEC, on UTEC field, the athletes who are a part of a group by Stephen Francis, I think, they train there. And I always take a few moments, if I'm there alone, to watch and to listen. And I go over and I stand up and I drive through the back gate and drive very slowly and take in the sights of the athletes. Stop and watch them. I see famous athletes running around, and there's a coach. There is the general coach there. He has books before him. And there are other coaches who are working with people who are doing javelin, working with people who are doing fast races, working with people who are doing hurdles, and they're blowing and setting the agenda. And the athlete is just carrying out the work and doing what the game plan says, the developmental plan says they need to do to execute their races and to do so efficiently. You need a game plan, and the head coach designs and crafts that game plan. He's the person who ultimately takes charge of preparing you for the game and for the race. And I think that this head coach must be God, that this head coach is God. And the purpose of God as a head coach for every young man is that God is helping that young man to figure out how to overcome the challenges that are there that will prevent him from being the best at what he's supposed to be. So God has the playbook, and I'll get to that shortly. God is the head coach. Let me not go ahead of myself. God is the head coach. He's the man who crafts and develops the plan. And if you are a brother here this evening, if you're a young brother here this evening, and you understand the place of a coach, you understand the need for this head coach, you will relate to what I'm saying, that God has to be your head coach. He's the man with the plan. He develops the agenda. He sets the criteria. He helps you to understand the challenges that you will face and he helps to prepare you to overcome those challenges. You need a head coach, man. You can't succeed at living the good life, which is conformity to Christ, without a head coach there crafting your process, designing your developmental strategy, and outlining to you his plan that he designed for you to achieve his objectives for you. The head coach is the architect of the game plan. He's the architect of your life. He is the one who determines how you go about living this game called life. If I can get some identification inside here, I like participation and involvement, and a little raise of hand, a little yes, yes, yes. I identify with that. You can put that in the chat and let me see if you're tuned into what we're saying. You need a head coach. Amen. You need a head coach. You're in the game of life, and in this game, it is to live the good life and to succeed at the good life. And the good life is to be conformity to Christ. And to achieve that, you need a head coach to help you navigate the path that will take you to full conformity, to the good life. But along with the head coach, you need the playbook. You need the playbook. You need the book with the strategies. You need the book with the game plan outlined in it for you. Yeah, you need the game plan. You need to understand the game plan. I was pretty surprised. I've never seen a playbook before. But when I looked into this book that was written by this very famous coach in the United States, who was trying to give wisdom and direction to young men from a Christian perspective, offering them a game plan that they need for their life. I took the time to go into Amazon and to look at the game, what they're talking about. and I saw the game plan book, and I did not realize, to be honest with you, how complex, how detailed a game plan looked like. I've never seen a game plan, at least for an NFL um, head coach before. And then I saw it in the book, and I went online just now, and just to make sure that I have the right name. His name is Joe Gibbs. Joe Gibbs was a very famous American uh, football coach, head coach, and he won, I think, 3 NFL championships over a period of 11 years, which is very successful, according to any stretch of the imagination when you think of that. Joe Gibbs, very famous head coach. And I looked at the game plan in the book, and I was like, really? I thought that the game plan must be, if I were the head coach for a team like that, and I have the famous player. I'm only going to mention one famous player that I know. And this famous player, his name is Tom Brady in that sport, right? Because I don't really follow that particular sport. My game plan would be get the ball to Tom Brady. Tom Brady gets the ball to the guys who catch the ball at the end and run across the line with it for a touchdown, right? N'Keal Harris, and those guys. Get the ball to those guys. And whatever you do, throw it to Brady. Brady is excellent. He will get it to the guys at the touchdown. That's the game plan. Do it all the time. Do it as best as you can, and try and make as many touchdowns as possible, in comparison to the opposition team. Yeah, that's how I would have figured it out. That's what the game plan is. But when I looked into the book, there were 2 pages of game plan worked out detail for detail. Arrows, numbers, strategies, how to work, what to do in certain situations and scenarios. And I was like, what, these guys actually sit down and figure this thing out, from the very beginning to the end. And I've seen that as a football follower. I've seen game plan for the top teams, how they start from the back, the formations that they go in and that they run in, how they need to pass the ball and work their way up into the opposition half and make their way to the goal. Yes, of course, the opposition is there to try and stop it from happening. But if you play with the game plan and you follow it, you should get as close to the without making any mistake. You should get as close as possible to the opposition side and possibly score and have a goal if it is football. So you need a playbook. And this playbook obviously is the Bible. It is the young man's playbook. And I want to say to every brother that's here, as you grow and age as a man of God and as a Christian, well, man of God and Christian, as a man of God, as you grow and age, as you take on professions and family and other dimensions of your life, you need to be able to know your Bible, to understand what the story of the Bible is, and to make the Bible's plays for your life, how to play in your profession, how to play in your family, how to play in your friendships, how to play in your spiritual development, and all these dimensions where the game. I'm going to talk about those in a few moments. How to play. You need the Bible to help you to figure out how to play the game according to the head coach's strategy. So you need the game plan. You need the playbook, and you need the head coach as you try to navigate the game of life and to succeed at living the good life, which is conformity to the image of God. So along with understanding that you are in the game of life, understanding that you are a part of this game, your goal is to win it, succeed at the good life, that you need a head coach, that you need a playbook. The next thing you need in the game of life, my brother, is a positive attitude. This is the fourth thing that you need. I've thus far looked at fourth thing. And I think the fifth is maybe the most important. But before I talk about what the fifth is, I feel that it's important to understand that if you're going to be a successful player in the game of life, you need a positive attitude. I don't know any sports player who succeeds if they don't have a positive attitude. As a young man, you need a positive attitude. You need a positive attitude. A positive attitude can be experienced on two levels. One, you need a positive mental attitude, first of all, a positive mindset. No, I'm not talking pop psychology here, all right? I'm not trying to hype you up with some kind of positive thinking statement. I'm really talking about every young man in the game of life must have a positive mental attitude. And I feel that this mental attitude should be that you never give up. That as a young man, your attitude should be that you will work hard and work hard until the job is done. You can't go through life. You can't go through life um worrying about the demands of life, complaining about how tough it is, complaining about how easy others have it. Your job as a young man going through life is to keep a check on your own mental attitude. I shared with some students today, and one of the students made a comment that I will never forget. He's a young man, and we were talking about some applications about men, etc. Somehow that conversation came up. And we were talking about, yes, why is it in Jamaica that people get married so late in life? Right? Jamaica is the country in the world where people get married the latest in life. The average age that a marriage takes place in Jamaica is age 33. Maybe you're here and you're about 28 and you're wondering, hold on, what's happening to me? Look, your culture says you still have a few more years to go. in Jamaica, the average marriage age is 33. So if you are 23 and you're a little anxious, culturally, you're 10 years ahead. In terms of the average expectation here. Some people do go on and get married early. Okay? I'm not saying you can't. So hope is not lost. Yes, Casey, hope is not lost. All right. Yes, Pastor Richards. Good to have you, man. Good to have you. Okay. So he said we were giving various examples, and we were saying, so why is it that maybe the young men in particular in Jamaica feel prepared for marriage only when they reach the average age of 33? What is taking them so long to mature? And I must admit that's close to where I myself got married, but it wasn't because maybe I wasn't as mature as I could have been at a younger age. Okay. So yeah, I'm thinking of it. I think I got married pretty close to that age, actually. Yeah. So we were looking at various reasons, and this particular guy said to me, "Sir, this is young man in his 20s." He said, "Sir, you know, a big part of the challenge is the lack of fathers to help prepare us for life. That as young men, we grow up, we don't have the proper preparation. Our mothers don't prepare us. They prepare the girls, but they don't prepare the boys. Nobody prepares uh, young men for these things." And I heard somebody say that to me the other day, and I take note of it, and it's true. The church doesn't do a good job in preparing young men for life. And he said, "You know, sir, I used to walk around with 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 a posture of aggression and roughness and toughness and stuff like that." And he said, "I used to do that because it was a self-defense. It was how I," and he said he grew up in Annette Gardens, now living in St. Anne. He said he went around with a tough face, a rough posture, a kind of radical look. So he said the reason he had to do that was it was a defense mechanism, is what he had to do to protect himself from others taking advantage of him. So the rough, rugged, hard, tough exterior, the madman, the serious man look, the bad boy look, was really a way, a mechanism that he used to protect himself. So when he walked like that, people didn't trouble him. People avoided him because they say this boy here not joke. But deep within, he said, he wasn't like that. He had to just put on that face to make it, to get by. And he said one day he moved out of the community and he met some other male friends. He began to have these friends. And he said the friends that he met were boys who had fathers. Like they came from homes where their father was present. And he realized that the boys who had their fathers were confident, assured. They didn't carry about themselves looking screwed up and mad. And they were not afraid of him. And they weren't intimidated by anyone else. And it dawned on him how he could have gone through life without being rough and tough on the exterior. If he had a father, he could have had the same confidence, the same positive attitude about life, the same optimistic and confident way and courageous way to live life, uh, uh, if his father was involved in his life. But because he had no father, he went around with that tough, rugged exterior to survive. And so for him, when he began to meet boys who had fathers, he realized how messed up his life was, at least from that perspective, with his external posture not really reflecting the true character that was inside of him. When he met the boys who had father, he met boys whose external character was ordinary, unafraid, but not roughed up. And they had the same courage, the courage that he was fighting to put on externally. They did not have that courage externally, but they had it internally. I wonder if you're following the illustration, the story that I'm talking about here. And so he had to change, and he had to undergo an incredibly quick change. to readjust himself, and he gave his heart to the Lord. He became a Christian. He's now in Bible college, going through Bible college and working and everything and living in sin. And he moved out of the community, and he had to change his mental attitude. But I tell you, a positive attitude is not only a positive mental attitude. A positive attitude is also a positive self-image. And the self-image is defined as the way you look at yourself, the way you see yourself. Let me ask you, when you look at yourself in the mirror as young men, do you like what you see? Do you like the person that you see? Do you have is your exterior in harmony with your interior? Right? Is the person that you portray yourself to be in face, in posture? Is it who you are internally? And you know, a lot of us go through life maybe putting out one perspective of ourselves while there's a different person beneath that self. I read a major article on men living in crisis, done by, I think it was UNESCO. And this institution made some observation that there are a lot of men who are living under a shell. And they described a particular animal that has a very tough shell, and whenever it is threatened, it curls into its shell and it protects itself because it doesn't have the resources it needs to fight. So it hides underneath its shell, and the real animal is inside the shell, quivering and protecting itself, defending itself beneath its hard shell. I'm wondering if you are a young man and that describes you, and your exterior life is very different than the person that you are inside, and outside you project a tough, rugged individual, but that individual is really the survivor, is the one who is trying to navigate life, trying to survive. But the real person is not thriving, is not enjoying a positive self-identity, a positive self-image. A positive self-image has harmony with what is seen and what is felt. And I think that goes across the board, whether you're a male or female, that has to be true about you. You meet a lot of people, and who you see is not who you meet. Yeah, like the exterior is not the real person. And I'm not saying that you can't have nuances and layers to your person such that it's not just what you see with the eyes. What you see with the eyes is not all there is about you. I understand that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you now need to become a person that, you know, as long as people who can just see you and judge all of who you are. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there is no need to live beneath a tough shell, a hard shell, and the real you never gets to be expressed. And I think that is something that as a young man, you need to be able to figure out. How do you bring your authentic self to full expression without apology, without shame, without guilt, providing that this authentic self is in conformity to the image of Christ. Okay? It is said that people who possess a poor self-image tend to be underachievers in life. So it's important to have a positive attitude, both of mind and of self-image, because a positive attitude is one that puts you in a position to be a high achiever. A positive self-image and mental attitude predisposes you to success just by having a positive attitude. Okay? Sweat Marden, the founder of this magazine called Success Magazine, said that how do you gain a positive attitude? You gain a positive attitude through constant affirmation of yourself and of your thoughts. And I think this is in keeping with what the Apostle Paul, what he said is also is in keeping with what the Apostle Paul taught as well. This is what Sweat Marden said. Constant affirmation. Listen to this. I'm going to put it in the chat for you so that you can have it. And I don't know if the college students can get it, if it can be pasted in the YouTube arena as well. But there it is. The representative can take it and cut it and put it over. This is what he said. A constant affirmation increases courage, and courage is the backbone of confidence. He says, furthermore, when a person gets in a tight place and says, I must, I can, I will, he not only reinforces his courage and strengthens his confidence, but also weakens the opposite qualities. So Sweat Marden in Success Magazine says, constant self-affirmation, saying I must, even in a difficult situation, when you're finding yourself in a difficult situation, when you say to yourself, I must, I can, I will, it strengthens your courage, it strengthens your confidence, and it weakens cowardice, and it weakens fear and gives you boldness to achieve. I know that for some of you, the Apostle Paul, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, is an affirmation that you use. And I think that's a very good affirmation. Every day you wake up, I want you to say, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. You know, I have two little kids who must wake up early in the morning to go to school, and they go to bed on average at about 10 o'clock each night, 10 o'clock the latest. And every morning I would go and I'm trying to wake them up, and they're, so sluggish. They get up, but it takes time. So I said, maybe I should play a song. And I found Jermaine Edwards, It's a Beautiful Day, Day. And I've been playing it in the mornings for them, and they wake up in the morning, they get out of bed fast, we do a little dance, three of us do a little dance, and when Jora is up and she's with me, she's 1 year old, I put her on the bed there, and she jumps as well, and Josiah and Josanne, we do that early morning dance, that beautiful day dance. We hug, we hold hands, we build each other up, and in the song we sing, put that brain to work. Right? Go out there and put that brain to work. Remember to put your brain to work. Focus in school. And what I've realized is that more and more I'm hearing Josiah in particular singing the song throughout the day. When he comes back home from school, even this evening after 5 o'clock, when we were outside and he was doing something by himself, I saw him over there singing It's a Beautiful Day. And I say, I hope that he's remembering, go and put that brain to work too. But I see him doing that. And I find myself too, when I start the day with that song, also it starts off my attitude in a right way. And I'm going to use it for as long as I can take it, and to see how my life might be different. And I perhaps would say to you, find something to get your day going. Find something to build your self-confidence at the start of the day and to make it worthwhile. So you need a positive attitude in the game of life. You need the playbook. You need the head coach. You need to understand you are in this game of life. And you're in this game of life to win it. And you're in this game of life to succeed at the good life, which is a life of conformity to the image of Christ. The final and most important point for your game plan for life, my brothers who are here, is to set for yourselves. I'm going to put it in the chat for you. Is to know the areas of play. Is to understand the areas of play for you. Remember, I'm simply using play as a metaphor for how you live. Okay? And I've searched myself. I'm now in middle age. I'm in that beautiful zone of life. I'm able to look down at years that have passed for me and to see other young men transitioning those ages, those stages, 24, 25, 23, 28. I could see 17 up. I could see the transitions that are needed for those stage. And I'm also at that place where I could look up and look up at those who have gone ahead of me in years and to assess how they have played and how they have succeeded at this life. I've looked into myself and I've looked across at my contemporaries, those that I went to college with, who I played football with when we could have played football at age 21 and run on a Saturday from 6 o'clock to 11 o'clock playing in the rain without becoming overly tired. I can't do that now though. Okay, not with the same intensity. I actually, after a time, as we aged and as we grow older, we used to say at this stage in life, when we were young, we played the game with 10% mental skill, mental awareness, and 90% physical. It was 10% mental and 90% physical. That's how rough we were. Now, we often say 90% mental, 10% physical. Okay? You go through those stages in life. I find that there are 5 essential dimensions that every young man must master in their game of life. It does not matter your age. It does not matter your academic achievement. It does not matter your maturity level. It does not matter whether you're rich or poor. Wherever you're from, there are 5 dimensions of life that every young man must learn to play and to advance in as he lives the game of life. They are 1, spiritual and value dimension, the family, relational, social dimension, the career, financial dimension, the developmental or educational dimension. And the fifth is the physical or health dimension. I came to realize these values in recent months in terms of putting them into a group, into a cluster. I've seen them piece by piece, but never organized them in my mind as the 5 dimensions of play for me as a young man and as a growing man, as a maturing man. And these 5 dimensions, if you are a young man tonight on this platform, whether you are on the Zoom platform or you are on the YouTube platform across the college campuses, wherever you may be, or female too, you need to understand that there are 5 dimensions to your life that you must learn to play and be a dynamic game, a dynamic playman in these areas. Your spiritual value. And I'm not, the list that I have prepared, they're not necessarily in order of priority. Okay? That's not how I organize them, and I'm the one that wrote them down there. Okay, but maybe there may be a way to prioritize these. I feel as long as you have all these 5, that's important. But we could say make the spiritual the most important dimension of your life, the priority dimension of your life. Okay, you need to understand that there is a component of you that has to be grounded in spirituality and be grounded in good values for your life. That this dimension requires careful attention and focus. Every good young man who must succeed in the game of life to become conformable to the image of Christ under the head coach of God, under the coaching of God, with the playbook of the Bible, with the right attitude in this game. When you are on the field of life, playing in the life, you are going to be playing the dimensions of spiritual and value. Spiritual and value dimension. You're going to be playing that. You're going to have to live that out. And if you nurture it, if you care for it, if you invest in it, if you grow in it, if you apply the right knowledge and character to it, that you will harness the spiritual gifts and the spiritual relationship with God and live out those values in your daily life with conviction and certainty and courage. You are positioning yourself to succeed in the game of life, which is conformity to the image of Christ. Christ lived with a solid spirituality, grounded in value, grounded in rock solid word of God, the game plan. You need to understand that as a man, you need to pay careful attention to realities of family. Maybe in this case, your family of origin, you're not married as yet. Maybe you're still a single man in your mother's home. Maybe you still go home on the weekends. They send you to school. They're taking care of you. Please don't dismiss the place of your family. Don't become so independent from your family that they don't know what's going on. When was the last time you called your mother? When was the last time you talked to your father and talk in a meaningful way? Right? That you have to create an opportunity to connect with your family and to make that connection strong and meaningful. I see that. I see that, Shauna. I'm wondering if one of the young men, which young man can tell me, when was the last time you talked to your family? If you're a young man, send a message in for me. Stefan. Is that okay? But it's important that this family, relational, and social dimension must include teammates, what we call friends. Your family and friends are your teammates, and you need to find a way to navigate these relationships and learn how to play together, depending on each other's strengths, supporting one another, supporting and receiving that support when it comes to you. You see, in the game of life, you can't play alone and conquer the field, especially the adversaries, the opponent that you are playing against. When you think of the powers that you are up against, you are playing against powerful forces, powerful opponents who will destroy you and defeat you in a cold, calculated way. And as a young man, you need family and friends to help you in the game of life, to support you in the game of life, to have your back in the game of life. A good friend is worth more than, that's one thing the man said that money can't buy. Money can buy friends, but money can't buy good friends, especially friends who will stick with you when the money runs out or when you're going through a difficult personal experience. You need to have friendships that are of value to you, friends who help you to advance in the game of life and whom you can advance in the game. Not friends that will cause you to be kicked out the game, not friends that will cause you to devalue your spiritual uh, dimension of life, right? Friends who will help you to live and to connect in a socially healthy manner, and that will build the quality of your life. You need to understand that you're going to be playing in the career and financial field, and it does not matter what field that is. It could be farming. And maybe right now I drive on the highway, go to Mandeville. Once upon a time, I used to see so many open lands on the going out into going out of the highway. Now I'm seeing a lot of farming going on there. There are some smart persons who are taking advantage of the land and returning to farming. Right? It could be mechanics, it could be engineer, it could be a lawyer, it could be a teacher, it could be a sportsman, it could be a journalist. I mean, you name it. It could be a computer engineer, it could be in counseling, it could be pastoral work. I hope that some of you will take that on as you will see that as a part of the calling of your life. All right. It could be graphic design. Right? It could be becoming an influencer online. I mean, I'm just trying to talk the language of today for you. It could be a soldier, a police, you name it. You are going to have to navigate the career and financial dimensions. And as a young man and as a person, you need to be able to find the what does the playbook tell you about how to manage your career and your finances. How do you succeed? What attitudes do you need to succeed? What does it say about being diligent, about being a wise steward? What does it say about being thrifty, and generous with how you give, with how you live, and smart with how you spend, and wise in how you invest, and faithful in how you tithe? That these dimensions are critical as far as the management of finances are concerned. But as a young man, you also need to know that when you work hard, you can't sacrifice the family dimension and the spiritual dimension for the career and financial dimension. You know, a lot of guys I meet sometimes when I go walk and say, what's going on? What's up with visiting us one day? Pastor, me have to work on a Sunday. Pastor, me hustle on the Sunday, Pastor. You know, Pastor, sometimes me go to the football match on a Sunday. I just I run a game by the time we come home late and so on. And I'm hearing those type of sayings, and I understand the importance of those to a man. But you cannot sacrifice the financial and the spiritual dimensions for the career and financial dimensions, which is what a lot of young men do. And maybe that's a part of the pressure that the society puts on you to do that, to be that way, um, and to ignore the other dimensions of your life, because maybe the society wants you to think that if you rich, talk about the rich life as the good life, that the rich life is the good life. It's not true. The rich life is not the good life. The rich life could become a part of a bigger picture of what the good life is, but it is not the end thereof. Wealth is the means to an end, not the means in itself, not the end in itself. Then you need to consider the developmental and educational life, and to understand that as a person you continue to grow. If you're a brother, look at me, listen to me. Don't end in the way Jamaica is going. In the way Jamaica is going and how fast the women are advancing. Jamaica is one of 3 countries in the Western Hemisphere where a woman is likely to become CEO. Okay? And that's Jamaica, usually in the United States, I think it is, and St. Lucia as a Caribbean island. It's one of 3 places on this side of the world where a woman is likely to become CEO, like a major manager. Don't and a lot of times we say, boy, the room is not there for women in Jamaica. But what? When you go in other regions, you will see how advanced Jamaica has become as far as it does with its women and the way they progress in society. Sometimes we don't hear those stories, but that's a reality. There's still a lot to be done, of course. But if it is one of 3 places on this side of the world where that is the case, there's a lot of progress that's being made there. And I'll say to our brothers who are here, the way in which this society is going, I'm not going to hide around the bush and tell you, if you don't advance yourself fast, if you can't, if you don't stay in the developmental game, you will be left behind. Yeah, and the woman in your life will give you milk to drink from a baby bottle. That's just a metaphor for a broader message that I'm conveying. Okay, and I don't want that to happen for you. I don't want that to be all. I don't want that to be the story of your life. And I'm not saying you can't have a woman who brings home more bacon than you, because it's just the nature of our society that our women have made significant advances. In Jamaica, more women are doctors than men. There are some professions that are dominated by women. Doctor is one. Teaching is one. You can go into law. More women than men. Women dominate these fields. So if you're thinking that, hold on here, you have the handle on some of these top end positions, you're going to find very likely a woman is going to be your boss. So you better be sharp, you better be crisp, better be ready, you better be ready to develop yourself and to engage the modern Jamaican workforce that is progressive, highly intelligent, highly dynamic, multi-functional. Look, I live with a dynamic wife. She and I could be doing something, and I could be washing up the dishes. Like yesterday, I was trying to wash up the dishes, right? And she wanted to plan something with me, and I couldn't wash the dishes and plan. I'm telling you the truth. I said, hold. I was like, come on, Karine. I can't plan when I am working on this. Okay? Can you let me finish this and then we'll sit down and plan. But she was there doing something else and wants to engage in planning with me. And I couldn't, I had to do what I needed to do first, get that agenda off. And after I'm finished and say, okay, honey, yes, you were telling me about this plan. Let's figure it out now. So you are going to go into a workplace with women who are what they call it now, multi-dimensional, they're multitasking. You think you can manage that? You have to understand how to navigate those spaces. Okay. But also, and finally, as I prepare to close, you have to play the physical health dimension. A lot of our brothers are becoming obese, sick, with diabetes and blood pressure and so on going on these days. Young men, I have two friends who are like that. One I saw on Tuesday, a young man that I really admire. I still admire him. Such an incredibly thoughtful and you know, a young man with strong character. And it pained me to see that he has like a serious diabetes, and I'm easily 15 years older than he is. And he was big and, heavy, not fat, but big. And I looked at him and he lost about 75 pounds. And he's not as vibrant because this particular thing is affecting him in a negative way. But beyond that, you need to have a healthy body. As a young man, you need to have a healthy body. You need to take care of yourself. Stop drinking so much soda. Am I being too practical here? Cut out some of the soda, cut out some of the Pepsi. Don't develop habits. In Jamaica, one of the leading causes of death is not violence, is high blood pressure. Cut out some of the salt out of your dinner. Cut out some of the late eating and some of the salt and the soda things out of your dinner. Begin to take better care of yourself. And I'm not saying you need to go to the gym now to put on a six-pack. If you can do it, you do it. Okay? Because the women that are in the church, they actually like it if you fit and you look a certain way. Okay, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing or a good thing. I'm just saying it's just the reality. If you're a young man, put yourself together, man. Play the physical dimension of your life with understanding, with decency. Take care of your body. Eat well. Carry yourself. And I'm going to use a language that may not be of the church, but you will understand what I'm meaning. If you are in your evolutionary prime, keep your body as long as possible in its evolutionary prime. Yeah, as a young man, and you will live longer, and you will be healthier, and you will be better for it. My brothers and sisters, as I close on this subject, I quote Stephen Covey in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He said that successful people are people who begin with the end in mind. And I say that to all of you, men and women. You are part of the game of life. You are part of the game of life, whether you're conscious of it or not, whether you're actively participating in it or not. You're a contestant. You're in a championship. Your goal is to win at life. And the end of this is to succeed at what is the good life. And the good life, I say, is not the rich life. Is not the life with greater pleasure over pain. but the life that is predestined to be conformed to the image of Christ. This life, you should cast it ahead of you as your good life. If you have another model of the good life other than one informed by what the playbook says it is, replace it. Restore in its place a vision of what the image of God, of Christ, would look like in your life. What would it look like for you to fully manifest the image of Christ as a young man or as a young person, a young woman that is here? How will others perceive you when they encounter this you that is fully conformed to the image of Christ? Oh my God, it will be beautiful. It will be life-giving. It will be someone who lives with confetti flowing over them on a daily basis. If you can maximize on what it means to be the image of Christ, I'm going to use a nice little theological term, the imago Christi, the image of Christ. If you can attain that in your young days, nurture it, cultivate it, guard it. Listen to what the head coach tells you about it. Follow the playbook rules about how to live it. If you can maintain that positive attitude of mind and of self-image and play on the 5 dimensions that I have put out to you in a balanced and thoughtful way, you will be a man who not only lives with the end in mind, but a man manifesting what it means to be all that God created you to be, which is the image of God in this world. Those are my thoughts with you. Play by the rules. Play the game of life. Be a good sportsman. Get some good teammates and live the life that God has called you to be, in Jesus' name. Amen. Praise the Lord. And I'll give Sister Casey the platform as she comes on and tells me what to do and what should happen next.
Thank you so very much, Rev. And I just want to greet everyone online, streaming with us on YouTube. I just want to say thank you all for having taken the time out this evening to be here. Very, very insightful discussion we had this evening. And, I just want to implore us. I have also put it in the chat on YouTube, the 5 dimensions, and it's also in the Zoom chat room. So take note of them and try as best as possible to focus on attaining them, right, as your game plan to be successful in this life. And Rev, what I'm going to ask you to do is actually to close us out in prayer. I just want to say thank you all so much. I hope that you enjoyed. I hope that you have been inspired. I have certainly been inspired. And, I just want to say have a good night to everyone. Have a good weekend. Be safe and God bless you all.
Okay, before you go, Casey, I don't know if there may be a question from someone. I could take one question if that's possible. I will not be long. We should get out of here by 9:05 latest. If there is any question, I'll just take it and respond to it as quickly as possible and we dismiss. Okay, if there isn't, then I'll pray, but if I open my eyes and see that there may be one in the chat, I'll just respond to it. But I'll pray because some of you may be typing and I want to just maximize the time. So let's pray. Father, we thank you for this evening. Thank you for this this ministry, this youth ministry here at the Papine Church. Thank you for Sister Casey and the team that's leading leading with her, working with her, and for all those who joined us this evening. I pray, oh God, that you will help us to understand that we are playing this game of life, we are living this game of life, and that we are players, whether we realize it or not, and that you have called us to be successful at living the good life and to pursue this good life fully expressed as the image of Christ in our lives. We pray that we will recognize you more and more as the head coach of our lives, that we will not have any other head coach but you, and that all other head coach are foreigners and strangers to our hearts and to our minds. We pray, oh God, that we will look more keenly into the playbook to see what your will is, to see what your strategy is, and how that strategy applies to the 5 dimensions of our lives. Oh God, our spiritual life, our family life, our career and financial life, our developmental and educational life, and oh God, that final dimension, Lord, every dimension of our lives, we and our health and physical life. I pray, Father, that each of us here who may be struggling with low self-value, who may not have a positive mental and emotional image, self-image, I pray that you will help us to recognize that you created us and everything about us is good the way we are. You've made us beautiful in your own way, and we are representatives of you with all of who we are. We pray for your blessings and grace to continue to abide with us as we bring this event to a close. And thank you for your wisdom and presence in our midst. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, I see no conversation or chat there, but I want to thank, okay. I see Stefan Wallace asking, what's the number 1 ingredient for a lasting marriage? What I would say to you, Stefan, in the quickest possible way, is the number 1 ingredient in marriage, based on how we have just spoken, is that you be a player in the game of life whose character is anchored in the image of Christ, conformity to Christ, and who lives in relationships under the head coach of God, playing by the rules that God set out for marriages in the playbook, and someone who lives with a positive mental and self-image. And of course, being in love and being loved by that special someone. If you have those ingredients, you will have a long and lasting marriage and a successful marriage. Thank you, Stefan. Okay. God bless you, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend. Oh, there is another one. How can one contend with balancing those 5 dimensions? For example, advancing one's career may impact devotions and physical health. You need to find a way to balance it. You need to give attention to each. If you are in college right now, your focus is to advance that dimension of your life. We don't expect you to be in college and focusing on career right now because you're still completing your degree. If you have just completed college and you're working, so you've already taken steps to achieve your educational standard, maybe set another goal. When will you go back to do another degree? You may need to put a timeline to that. Start your days with God. Start your days with spiritual things. Make time on the weekend for God and don't compromise with it. When it's time for church, when it's time for God, make that time possible. When it's time to spend with your family, set aside certain days of the week that you will play with your family. That it could be midday. And I participated in a seminar by the University of the West Indies last year for 10 weeks, a special seminar on parenting. And I attended every session for 10 weeks, 1 hour per day, 10 hours. over a course of 10 days. And they said that in terms of family, especially if you have young children, I entered as a father with young children. They said to me that a young child basically only needs 10 minutes of undivided attention to let them feel as if you are a part of their life and they are a part of your life. 10 minutes per day, okay, where you allow them to select the games that they want to play and you participate with them in that game. Sometimes you can help and help to give shape, but they are the ones that run it. And you participate, you watch them, you talk to them, you comment them and play with them. And 10 minutes of undivided attention can fulfill your little child's heart for fatherly affection. So it doesn't take much to balance it if you understand what you need to do to make this balance efficient and to bring up and to achieve at least responding to the 5 dimensions in your life on a regular basis. You may not be able to do all of it every day, one day, but to ensure that they are all a part of your life on a regular, habitual, and consistent, in a consistent manner. I feel that those will be critical steps that you can take. All right. Thank you, Ishmael. I answered your question very directly and so on. I hope that it offered you some insights. Okay, so God bless you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of the night. Enjoy your weekend. If you're in the Papine area, we're having a barbecue for men tomorrow. It's free for men. Come on up at the church at around 12, 1 o'clock, noon time in the afternoon. Come with a game and come and enjoy free barbecue, pork and chicken and other niceties that we have there to treat our men. That's right, free. And I don't mean you pay a little something. I mean free. You simply need to come as a male and it's yours. We're looking forward to seeing you if you're in the area. Okay, if you're on campus, come on over. You might not have lunch. We might be able to give you a little something. God bless you, everyone, and see you at the tent if you can tomorrow. Thank you to the Tertiary Students Ministry for teaming up with us and linking with us. I hope you enjoyed tonight and this conversation. God bless you.